Hello again. It's time for us to read chapter 10 of Hank Zipzer's I Got a D in Salami. Let's see. We just left off with Hank getting not a very good grade on his report card. In fact, 3 Ds. He met up with his dad, and his dad said that his mom has kind of like an emergency at her deli, that Grandpa and Mom are trying to make a new kind of vegetarian salami. That's where we enter the story, at the deli. As you approach, chapter 10. As you approach my mom's deli, your mouth starts to water. I can almost taste it now. Whether you wanted to or not, your mouth starts to water. It doesn't matter if you've just eaten a 34-course meal and are so full you feel like your stomach's going to explode. You get hungry all over again. What's Hank trying to tell us? I think people just love to eat Mom's food. They can just imagine how good it tastes. Mom must be pretty good, huh? When you pull the glass door open and step inside, you are in the kingdom of smells. Sauerkraut and pickles smells come racing from one side. Hot pastrami meat and corned beef pour in from another. Rare roast beef, salami, and sour green tomatoes circle in from behind. Wow, a lot of smells, huh? I can almost smell them myself. Your nose goes into overdrive. But wait a minute. What's that coming from the counter? Oh no! Pickled herring in cream sauce with onions. Duck! It's nasty, nasty, nasty. I don't think he likes herring. Herring is fish. I've never understood who eats pickled herring fish when everything else in the crunchy pickle is so incredibly delicious. Why would anyone choose a gray, salty fish with white slime all over it? Ooh. The stuff should have a store of its own. Wait a minute. I know who eats it. Mrs. Adolph probably does. It matches her gray face. Oh, he's not being very nice, is he? Papa Pete says pickled herring in cream sauce is an acquired taste. I've noticed that grown-ups say that about everything that's truly disgusting, like lima beans, Brussels sprouts, beets, green peppers, and movies in French. The sandwich counter is at the back of the deli, and in the front are the booths where the customers sit. Papa Pete picked out everything in the crunchy pickle himself. The boots are this special shade of periwinkle blue, which Papa says he picked because it's the color of Grandma Jenny's eyes. He's so proud of how nice the deli looks. He always tells me that the boots are genuine leatherette, which is not as expensive as real leather, but not as cheap as plastic. There are always people inside the crunchy pickle, because it's such a cheerful place. And the regular food is extra delicious. I'm not sure my mom's soy lunch meat, though, will be such a big draw. When we came in, Carlos, the best sandwich maker in New York City, was behind the counter. Even though he's only 23 years old, he's worked at the deli for as long as I can remember. He started working here when he was still in high school because his family had just moved from Puerto Rico and they needed the money. Carlos and I always talk about baseball. And sometimes after work, we go to the park and he gives me batting practice tips. Carlos has a great arm and he throws a wicked curveball. Sounds like he's the big brother he needs, huh? Carlos was building a tongue and Swiss on rye for Mrs. Wilcox. I've never understood why anyone would eat tongue. Me either. Think about it. It's a tongue. It spent its whole life in a cow's mouth, covered with grass. I'm not even going to mention the cud chewing part. Don't forget the extra Russian dressing on the side, Mrs. Wilcox said to Carlos. I already put 2 in the bag for you, Carlos answered, and I put an extra pickle for Mr. Wilcox. Really crunchy, just the way he likes it. Mucho gracias, Carlos, said Mrs. Wilcox. I think she might have winked at him. All the women who come into the Crunchy Pickle love him. He's a pretty good-looking guy with shiny black hair and diamond studs and earrings in each ear. He always wears bright red socks. No matter what else he has on, he always wears red socks. Frankie said he must have a lot of confidence to wear bright red socks, even with shorts. As he handed Mrs. Wilcox her takeout, Carlos flashed a big grin. He's always happy to see us when we come in. Hey, Hankito, he said. I saved you a black and white. He pulled an oversized cookie that's half vanilla frosting, half chocolate frosting. It's my favorite because there are so many ways you can eat it. You could take one bite and get both chocolate and vanilla at the same time in your mouth. You can break it in half and eat all the chocolate and then eat all the vanilla. Or you can start on the chocolate, take a bite, and then go to the vanilla and take a bite, and then go to the chocolate and take a bite, and then the vanilla and take a bite. You can see why it's my favorite. Frankie, my man, here's your oatmeal raisin, Carlos said. Frankie's mom wants him to eat whole grains, so he's gotten into oatmeal raisin cookies. They're the most healthy-sounding cookies in the display. Carlos turns to Ashley. Ah, bonita, I got your favorite too, he said. Then he gave Ashley a sugar cookie covered with rainbow-covered sprinkles. A beautiful cookie for a beautiful young lady. And what do you want, little man? Carlos asked. Actually, I don't eat sugar, said Robert. It causes tooth decay. Is that what happened to the tooth on the side there, where it's missing? Sugar got it? Carlos asked Robert. No, that was an incisor. They had to be removed because it was blocking my molar behind it. My dentist said I have an overcrowded mouth. You have an overcrowded brain, said Frankie. We all laughed and spit bits of cookie everywhere. A few of Ashley's sprinkles stuck to the glass case. This is no laughing matter, Robert went on. If your teeth are too close together, it traps food particles that create plaque, which hardens and causes tooth decay, not to mention gum disease. Hey, little man, you shouldn't talk about that stuff. It's gross. That's okay, Carlos, Ashley said. We're used to it. Robert says anything, anywhere, at any time. We threw our backpacks down on one of the empty tables and sat down to finish our cookies. My father went to his usual corner booth where he keeps a stash of New York Times crossword puzzle books. As Carlos brought him his favorite drink, a cup of hot water with lemon, my mother came out from the back of the store. She was wearing her white headband, which means she's in her cooking mode. She has a lot of blonde, curly hair, and when she cooks, food splatters in her hair and stays there. Once she had so much chocolate frosting in her hair, she looked like she had brown hair. The headband keeps her hair clean and blonde. Hi, kids, she said. How was school? Fine, we all said at once, probably a little too quickly. How did the spelling contest go? She asked. It was incredible, Mom. Remember the trouble I had with rhythm last night? I aced the word. Good for you. Anything else interesting happened today? Nope, I answered, barely looking at her. Okay, I admit it. I felt a little guilty not telling her about the report card. But if you think about it, there was really no need for me to feel guilty about my answer. She asked if anything interesting happened, and I said no. I don't happen to find getting a really bad grade on a report card interesting. So technically, I wasn't lying. I think he kind of was. So how was the soy salami coming, I asked, changing the subject as quickly as I could. Papa Pete and I are having an argument over it, she said. He doesn't think it has enough flavor. He went to get more garlic. I'm so interested to know about your recipe, Mom, I said. Since when? She asked, giving me a strange look. Since, last Tuesday? I said, or maybe it was Wednesday? Yeah, it was Wednesday that I realized I should know a lot more about what's in lunch meat that you make for me, I thought. Just then the deli door swung open and in came Heather Payne and her mother. Heather Payne is the most perfect girl in our grade. Her mother was smiling. Actually, she was beaming. I knew that spelled trouble for me. We're here for a special cookie for my straight A student, Mrs. Payne said. Heather got a perfect report card today. Uh-oh. My mother slowly turned her head in my direction. The silence hung in the air like a boiled cabbage fumes. Today is report card day, she asked, staring at me with eyes that practically burned a hole in my t-shirt. I guess that little detail must have slipped your mind, Hank. Mom, you know that happens, I said. My mind is very slippery. I gave her that big smile, the one that shows my top and bottom teeth. Frankie calls it the attitude grin. She wasn't buying it. I think we should continue our conversation in the back room, she said. No problem, I said, trying to sound casual. Bring your backpack, Hank. It occurred to me that I had better bring my friends too. I picked up my backpack and motioned for everyone to follow me. Where are you going to, what are you going to do, Zip? Frankie whispered. I have no idea, I said with a shrug. The back room is where all the cooking equipment is. Big shiny ovens for baking, long wooden counters for slicing, and big bowls for making potato salad and coleslaw. It's the main kitchen. But it's also my mom's laboratory where she makes her new recipe. I noticed that several of her big meat grinders were going, probably mixing up a new recipe she and Papa Pete were working on. No sooner were we in the back room than my mom spun around on her heels and said, let's have it. By it, I assumed she meant my report card. I asked, stalling, by it, I mean you mean my report card? I asked, stalling for time. Hank, don't play with me. Right, okay, I said. I'm sure it's in my backpack somewhere. I dropped to my knees and started emptying my book bag as quickly as I could. I dumped everything on the floor. While I was taking everything out, Mom walked over to check the machines that were grinding her mysterious meat. She mixed the ingredients with a spatula and then came back. Of course, I knew where my report card was. I had tucked it in the big brown manila envelope deep inside the secret zipper pocket, in which I could keep my pencils. I made believe that I couldn't find it. The room was quiet except for the whirling of the meat grinder churning up the mysterious meat the sound of papers rattling as I emptied my book bag. Oh, here's my science workbook, I said, stalling for time. We're learning such interesting things in science. We're almost done with our unit on astronomy. The solar system is so amazing, isn't it, Ashley? I motioned for Ashley to talk to my mom to keep her distracted. Why, yes, it is, Mrs. Zipser, Ashley said. Did you know that one might discover another planet no one ever knew there was there before? I didn't hear the rest of what Ashley was saying because I was putting my plan into action. I pulled the manila envelope with the report card and Mrs. Adolph's letter out of the zippered pocket and slipped it to Frankie. Frankie gave me a look looked and asked, what am I supposed to do with it? Get rid of it, I whispered. I turned to my mom and a look of surprise on my face. My report card's not here. It's not in here, Mom, I said with a shocking voice. Maybe I dropped it on the sidewalk while I was walking from school, and a pigeon swooped down and picked up my paper. They're shredding it right now to use as their nesting material. I saw one do that on the Discovery Channel. Discovery for Kids, I said. Hank, my mother said. I'm waiting. I rummaged around some more in my backpack. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Frankie turn and hand my report card to Ashley. Frankie said, You don't happen to have my report card, do you? Frankie held up both hands. No, I don't have your... Why would I have your report card? Ashley took the opportunity to take the report card and pass it off to Robert. Robert took it, looked for someone to pass it off to, but I was out of friends. There was no one left to pass it to. Robert did a brilliant thing. Maybe the most brilliant thing I've ever seen him do before. Maybe he's ever done in his bony little life. He edged over behind my mother and very quietly dropped the entire envelope into the whirling meat grinder. I watched in amazement as my report card disappeared into the beige mixture. All those D's becoming the new ingredients in the soy salami. My mother was losing patience. Henry? Mom, I said, I don't see it anywhere. Honest, my report card is disappearing before my very eyes. Which is the truth. I wasn't even lying. Oh, he's going to be in trouble. He's got his report card inside the meat. I wonder if that's what it means. I got a D. My D report card is in the salami. Ooh, maybe we figured it out. We'll have to wait and see. Come back for chapter 11.